to want people to love me, so I learned how to sing. Then I thought I wanted money, so I could buy a nice thing. And when I found it, was as empty as could be. And now I'm staring at my face above a bathroom sink.
Hey guys, Amber from FAMLEE. Thanks so much for tuning in. This week's video, I am just editing it, and I've just discovered that, well, I didn't just discover it, but I did discover that I had no audio on all of the video that I shot. So unfortunately, it's just going to be a hodgepodge of gardening stuff, and I just had to piece it together from a few days, over the course of a few days, because none of it makes sense without the audio portion, and I didn't want to voice over. It just wasn't ideal. So I kind of resorted to creating this. I hope you enjoy. I tie up my tomatoes. I do a little bit of talking about how I prune my tomatoes and how I care for them. And then we ended up going to the local rodeo, had a lot of fun, and hopefully you enjoy. So come along.
That's when I found peace with where I am now. It's the only place I'll ever be.
Weed away and pluck as we chat. So this weed, as you can see here, I'm going to show you this quickly. Right here, all this. This is a result of using horse poop that hasn't necessarily aged as long as it should have. There's a lot of weed seeds in here, but I am okay with the weed seeds because it's really amended the soil quite nicely, and I get a really good harvest. But requires a little bit effort. I'm gonna go ahead and prune up these tomatoes. So what my intention is, we have had some aggressive wind yesterday, and I want to just kind of reinforce these and get them staked up a little bit. They're starting to get really big. I'm gonna snip all these lower leaves off. It's turned out to be a gorgeous day out here in the garden. It was literally 7 degrees this morning, and it's only gonna get to a high of 14 today, and it's a perfect day. It's almost impossible to work out here. It's got high heat all day long and high sun. I do early morning hours or I can't be out here. This garden space is getting bigger and bigger each year, and it requires a lot of effort. So this is kind of what I spend my Saturdays doing. So welcome to my garden. I am going to work on this row of tomatoes today, and hopefully the wind's not too bad. I'm literally a third-year gardener. I garden in March of 2020. That was the first year that I actually put planted a seed into the ground and started growing a garden. Simply really as a result of heading to the grocery store, because I think like everybody, we experienced the first time the reality of food shortage. And I'm not certainly someone who acts out of fear, because I do believe that we still have quite a bounty in the grocery store. But the reality of it is up to that point, it just didn't even occur to me that growing food was really even an option for me. I have such a busy life, and I just thought, you know what, heading to the farmers markets and things like that, that's kind of, I lived in this world for 48 years essentially, that our food came from the grocery store or from the markets. And you know, I was kind of a little bit ignorant to the entire process of what it takes to grow a tomato, or what it takes to grow a melon. And now that I'm in the thick of it and doing it, and actually quite loving it, I'm really fascinated by the process. Like, to take a tiny, like if you've ever seen a tomato seed, look at this. And I know now how to grow tomatoes and how to prepare this. So I'm equipping myself with the skills. That being said, I can literally go to Costco and buy 2 1-liter jars of a marinara sauce, very similar tasting to what I had, for a fraction of, I'm sure, the cost of what I did. You know what? Those are the things. I loved the process of learning how to grow a tomato, how to can it all and process it down. So now I know that skill. Will I consume and do a lot of it? Probably not, but I know I can. I think that's what I'm trying to get at. One thing I also highly encourage you to do is, when you're playing with the tomatoes, I learned tomatoes give off this tarry-like substance And if you don't wear gloves, you're going to get black fingers. A lot of gardeners take that as a badge of honor. I will be wearing my gloves. And these are my little pruners that I love. And I've cleaned these with alcohol first. You're supposed to do this with between every plant. Because if there is any sort of disease in this plant, you don't want to transfer it over to the others. I was so fortunate to have had this gardening space from the previous owners of this property, and I felt I was doing it a disservice by not using it. And then when 2020 happened, the idea of food scarcity became very real for all of us. I thought, you know what, if I can be the one person in the family that knows how, because I don't come from a long line of gardeners actually. I don't know anybody that gardens in our family like I do. Now, in the last 2 years, my grandmother spent a lot of time in the garden. But as children, we did a little bit, but I don't remember much about it. So none of our current family is doing anything like this. So I thought, hey, if I got the space and I got the desire to learn, why not? I did use the back to Eden method with the compost, the cardboard, because this garden space was really neglected and overran for the first year that I did it. It was all grass. Rather than tilling up this entire space, decided to use the back to Eden method, which was cardboard down or newspaper or tarps or whatever to kill off the grass rather than till it up. So there's a no-till method combined with the wood chip, but you could just go get a really good compost and mix it in with the topsoil or whatever and put it on your wet cardboard and then plant in that. And that's what I did for the first year, and I got a very good harvest. I got quite a bit of stuff. And then the second year, as I was digging into my things, there was no more cardboard, so it really dissolved within the first year. So that was good. And then I put the compost down, and then I topped it all with wood chips, which I've got here. I don't know if you can see that there. I got my wood chips there that I'm going to put on now, because if you can see here, this soil is extremely dry, and I just don't have a watering system. I'm still watering by hand. I don't have an irrigation system. It's on the docket to get done, but you know what, like with everything, the projects, right? So I have to water with a hand. Top watering is not ideal. Obviously, anything that I've been learning and in the gardening courses that I've been taking, I'll recommend to use an irrigation and drip line to because your root bed is where your fruit will come from. So that's what you want to be watering, and making sure that the root is strong and healthy. And that's why a good, healthy garden starts with the soil. And without good compost and good soil, you're not going to have decent harvest. That is the ideal scenario, but it's not my situation. So just because it's ideal doesn't mean you shouldn't do something. I'm top watering. I'm going to use a sprinkler for now, watering my seedlings, and I'm going to continue watering. When I do water, I try to take the hose to the root as much as I can versus sprinkling it from above. Like I'll water right down here, but that's why I want to clean this stuff up, because this part of the thing is, if this is touching the ground, that's where you can get the pest pressures and the the blights and all of the different diseases that come along with tomatoes. So I want to clean up those stems as much as I can. It'll help to yield more fruit. Once my tomatoes start to set fruit, there's one there, are setting flowers. It's the bright yellow flowers. So those bright yellow flowers will be my tomatoes. So once the plant starts to set those fruits, to give it a shot of bone meal, because it will help to encourage potassium, and tomatoes need potassium in order to get those fruits to go. So I think I was explaining in a previous video what the NPK is on fertilizers, and bone meal has a very high potassium, which is the P phosphorus and potassium. I always get the P and the K mixed up. I'm still learning, guys, sorry. The I know N is nitrogen, and then the P potassium, and the K is phosphorus, I believe. Or it's the other way around. See, like I said, don't look at me as like an authority, because I'm still learning. I've started and I'm going. So the way that I learned the NPK is the N is up, the P is down, and the K is all around. Marigold flower. Oh, chickens love these, just so you know. The chickens love these little things, and this is another little trick to making their yolks bright yellow. Okay, before we run out of battery life, I'm going to just show you what I worked on here. I weeded all these tomatoes up here. I mounded them up. Now I'm going to give them a healthy dose water. Then I'm going to top it with some good wood chip mulch and hope, sorry about the wind, that it keeps some of the moisture in this soil because it is dry. So, and I've been watering every night. It takes me about 3 hours, and it's the part of gardening that I don't love because it takes away so much time doing other things, right? So douse it with some water, put the wood chips on, and hope that that helps retain some of that moisture. Use all of this wood chip mulch here to do the rest of the garden, except I still have quite a few fragile seedlings coming up here in this garden. So I'm going to wait for those to bloom before I throw the wood chip mulch on there, because I need to move this. Looks like it got a good healthy dosing. I got to do this side, but I don't want to get my chickens wet. They'll move, I guess. Anyway. Want to watch me do this? You guys are going to laugh at me. Probably get soaked again. I did it, but I'm getting my girls wet. They're not going to like it. They're like hiding. I didn't get too wet that time. But I need to tie up my tomatoes, like as you can see here. The thing about tomatoes that I've learned, it's all about airflow. And if you can keep those pruned up lovely and keep the airflow from going through it quite nicely, these dogs, I swear to God, they fight inside my garden beds. They got all this grass space to fight in. They go into the dirt. Yeah, so everybody has a trick to tomatoes. I was told that once they start to flower, which these are, you can see the flowers, this one's actually starting to set fruit. It's a good time to hit it with some bone meal, some extra phosphorus. Some people put an egg in the hole or some Tums or extra calcium, just to kind of, that's apparently what the tomatoes love, but kind of everybody seems to have their own trick. But I hate having him on a leash because he's running so much now, but he won't stay around me. I had him on my hip, but he's getting so big that he literally pulls me on my bum. Because when he pulls so fast, and then it's like, next thing you know, I'm laying, you're gonna tear out my peppers. Thor, get out of it. Look it, get out! You're wrecking Mommy's peppers! Get out! You're worse than a toddler. Get out of there. Go play out here. I'm gonna leave you in the house. You're messing with my zen. I wish I could keep him off the lead, but this garden section isn't. Once I get my gate up there, it'll be fine and I can leave him off, but he's fine. He doesn't go away, but when I'm in work mode and I'm not paying attention, he ventures and wanders. Gardening with a puppy is like gardening with a toddler. Anyways, back to my tomatoes, guys. Oh, puppies. So my intention, this here is my whole row of tomatoes, was to use this fence as kind of a lattice or a cage of some sort, just to secure them and tie them up. That isn't going to work because I did plant them a little too far away from that fence, and then they're going to just, anyways, the root system is right here. So I planned on putting like a T-post here and then stringing it all the way to the very end, another T-post, and then just doing some eye screws under and using a string to pull them up, which I will likely do maybe later in the season. For now, I found these in the back. Frank used these for our snow fence for the chickens in the winter, and so I thought, you know what, they look like they might be perfect, so I'm just going to put these right beside the root bed and tie them up with some of my cable strings. So let's see if that works. I'm going to pluck this in right beside the root. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that with all of them and see if that makes a difference. And then as it grows, I've got these different segments that I can actually tie it to, so I can get as high as this, without it. The tomato plants, if I keep them trimmed and pruned, they probably won't get much bigger than that. And if they do, they likely won't need support. They'll bush up here. They'll bush up around the top, and they likely won't need any further support. Yeah, these are just the snow fence stakes that I had, which is good because I can reuse these every year because they're off season. I use these for the winter for the snow fence, so I can use them for the summer for my tomatoes, and they worked brilliantly with this. It's just a coated wire that I got. It's just a coated wire that I got at Walmart. So because they are determined, they set an exact amount of flowers, and that's all they set. But an indeterminate, you should be cutting off the suckers. And so this is a beefsteak, and this beefsteak variety is a indeterminate. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this sucker off. And this, you could essentially take this little cutting and put it in some water and let it root up, and you have another tomato plant here. But I'm just going to go ahead and cut these off and discard because I got lots of tomatoes so far. It will help to get more fruit on this vine by cutting off all those suckers. And those suckers are usually found in the armpit of each growth point. So usually they are found right here in the V, and they'll throw off more shoots. These ones aren't quite big enough to stake up, but once they are, I will get them staked up. I gave them all a shot of fertilizer. This is going to be an interesting tomato because the blooms, there's like 3 or 4 blooms here fused together. So I'm going to leave that because I want to see what that looks like. It's like there's something called cat facing, and that happens when these blooms fuse up together. So I'll show you what that looks like once it goes to, I'm getting some leaf curl here. Leaf curl is just a sign that the plant is a bit under stress. So I'm going to give some more water to this, see if I can stop that from happening. But the rest of them look okay. Anyway, it's just this one here that's curling up a bit. I would give you as a garden tour. There's not really a lot to look at yet. These are some jalapeno peppers. My basil's just starting to peek through here, starting to come up. Strawberry bushes, but never been able to yield a single strawberry. We're feeding some sort of a squirrel or something, but that's okay. We can go strawberry picking across the street. Back there I've got some eggplants. Did just plant some dill seed over here, which clearly Thor just destroyed. I don't know. Hopefully he's probably... We'll see if they still germinate. We've had no rain here, so I'm going to have to get the water out. This soil is so dry. Oh my gosh. Oh, look it, guys. My sweet peas are starting to finally set buds and some flowers, which means there will be some fruit on those at some point. Oh, look it. Tore up my kohlrabi, that little squirt. I'm going to have to replant that. I don't know if anybody's ever had kohlrabi, but this is what it is. It's like a little plant that throws off these shoots. This is the fruit inside here. I think it's a Japanese food, but it's really good in stir fries. It kind of is like a summer squash a little bit, but it's got a very crunchy taste. It's really lovely. If you've never had a kohlrabi, I bought one at a farmer's market once, just because I like to try different things, and you know, I'm interested in trying different things, and she told me how to cook this, so I literally just took off all this stuff. I didn't peel it or anything. I just chopped it up, threw it in a stir fry, and oh my goodness, very tasty. You can also see here now my garlic scapes are just starting to curl. So there's one curl here. The best time to harvest the scapes is when it starts to curl twice. I think some of them are starting to. Yeah, see this one here is close to it. Like, see how it's almost curled twice? This is a perfect time to start. It's doing its one, and then it's almost ready to do that second curl. This is when they say is the best time to harvest your scapes. The reason you want to do this is you can keep these scapes and make a pesto or a garlic pesto or something like that, and you can cut them down here at the root, the base of the neck there. And what it does is it stops throwing energy up into creating that seed, because that's what this is this garlic pod here is where all the seeds are, and it will end up making your bulbs a bit thicker and a bit more beefy. So that's kind of the intention of why you would want to cut off your scapes. I'm really happy to see that they came back, because I thought my chickens destroyed them. So I'm going to leave them a little bit longer, and then I'm going to get those all cut off and make up some more garlic pesto. I made some last year. It was really tasty. So I wanted to show you here. This is kind of something neat. I know this is a bit of a mess. These are my beets, and these are some carrots, and I've got some cucumbers along the back row there. But here is a tomato plant, and inside my beets, I might move this one because the root system on this one likely won't be doing too well, because it'll be competing with my beets. And there's another one here. These are what they call volunteers. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. I did not plant these. 5, 6, 7 volunteers in just this little section. And the reason I'm letting them grow, is because all of my seed starts that I did this year got stunted. I put them out a little too soon, and they got really cold, and they stopped growing. The reason I'm going to leave these is because I started all of my tomato seeds inside, and when I went to harden them off, I put them outside, and it was a little bit too cold, and I really stunted their growth. And unfortunately, they just never came back. They unfortunately just are still spindly little things. And I'm going to just, as an experiment, still go ahead and plant them, because some of them are pretty, they're starting to grow second and third leaves, which would suggest that they're starting to really kind of wake up a bit. But they're certainly not nearly as big as those tomatoes. And those were my grape tomatoes that I paid like $8 for a package of seeds. So I was really heartbroken when they didn't germinate, because I used my last of my seeds. So I want to wait and see before I pluck these out if any of them are my grape tomatoes or if they're others. I don't even know what variety they are. So if they are the grapes, yay! But if they're not, oh well, I've got lots of other ones. We'll see, we let them go. But I can tell you too, I have 3. I know these are tiny Tims because I remember what they looked like from last year. This here is a tiny Tim, that one there, and then there's that one there. And then there's a little one coming up here. So this was the section where I did all of my cherries and all of my grapes, tomatoes. And I'm hoping I get a good little harvest on a volunteer. And see, these are my cucumbers. And I did some Armenian, that's what this is here over here. I gotta do some weeding in this section, but they're massive big cucumbers. I can't wait to show you what they look like once they come up. Of course, this is my lettuce. It's still doing okay. It hasn't gone to seed yet. We're still harvesting off of it. It's very tender. My girls are loving it. This is the butter crunch. This is the romaine. And that's just the muesli mix, or the field greens. I did have some spinach here that all went to seed, so I went ahead and threw that out, or gave that to the chicks, girls. So we've got some turnips in here. This is what ends up happening when you let the weeds ramble. So I have it's a bit of a bindweed. It's kind of, it's a really bad weed. And what happens is it tangles itself up into the root system, and therefore it really snuffs out the plant growth. Because this is my Swiss chard, and as anybody knows, Swiss chard is very vigorous. But it's not doing very well here because I haven't weeded this section yet. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Get this all cleaned up, and hopefully I can see that start to grow up here now. But these weeds are really, anyway. I just love the idea of growing food and just being able to eat fresh from the garden. And I know I'm getting really wrapped up in overwhelmed with this garden space because it is really big and I'm going to have a lot of food here shortly. And I just don't have the storage space or the kitchen space. Well, I do have a beautiful kitchen, but I don't have really the storage space to put the food up once it's processed. So I kind of decided that in my journey of gardening, I want to eat fresh from the garden with putting up a little bit of tomato sauce. And the boys really love the cowboy candy, so the peppers, I'm going to do that. And then the squashes, because they don't really require a lot of processing. The big hard shell on them will allow them to store on the shelf for quite a while. So that's kind of my intention, is just to eat fresh from the garden. So I'm hoping my melons grow. Eli will love those. The boys, actually, all of them will love the melons. But they require a lot of water. And as you can see, my soil is it's really compacted and dry. It's really dry. So I put the wood chips on in hopes that it helps to retain some of the moisture, but the wood chips really make a difference in keeping the moisture inside of the soil. That's a little bit of a garden tour, guys. Not much happening right now, but my puppy. But this puppy in the garden, he's causing a ruckus. His leash just got caught around, let me show you, around this mechanism. Look what just happened. Thank gosh this is my watering tote. Frank hooked me up so that I don't have to lug water by the garbage pail. Yeah, Houston, we have a leak. So I'm hoping that this entire mechanism can get attached to this piece here, possibly getting rid of this arm, but he's just a lot of energy right now. You're not even listening to my music. You're just such a little mischievous toddler now. You know what it is? I don't have my tree belt anymore. I need to have that on me in order to control this puppy. Hey? You, my friend, are getting so outrageous days. And then my chickens are like beating up on one of the other little ladies. Dinosaurs, they're so mean. There's one that's, she's been really laying really large eggs. And so, of course, the concern of when a hen does that is that she will hemorrhage. And we've been getting a little bit of blood on each of her eggs. So Frank's been keeping an eye. She's still eating and she's still doing okay. But as a result, the girls are all smelling that, I guess. I don't know. But they're just being mean to her. So I think until we can figure out what's happening with her, we're going to separate them. But they were just being mean. I didn't catch it on film, but she's underneath the tractor right now, so hopefully she's safe and out of their way. But Frank's going to come and put her in the garden, which I'm not really fond of because, oh my gosh, they can destroy a garden very quickly. I'm all done. I got my tomatoes all pruned up and staked up. It looks like we're going to get some rain, which is heavily needed, and got that fixed. It was just the connection. It was just a weak point. I was blaming Thor. I don't think it was Thor. So it was just when I was pulling my hoses back and forth when I was watering the garden, it was likely just causing it. It was a weak point. So we got it fixed up. No big. We're all back up in business. It is nice and secure again. Get to fill my water bucket. I said this day last year, he was just a dream.
flags. How is everybody out here today? Only in Orangeville. Orangeville crazy, look at it. Got the sport model, got a different... Watch this! Put him to work! Speed down it, girl. Look at her. Here she comes. Look at this. These are her two great horses. Hey, come on, here we go. Good job. Look at Big Brother going down there now. Oh, man. Oh, great bucket horse. Lester Bowman putting on a show. Give him a hand. In the Blackfoot Nation. Oh no! Got his hands full out there. Well, hold on a minute. Well, that little horse ran out. Call him Blackfoot. He's a young horse. Look at these guys. This is a young horse, not sure where he's going. He says, hang on. Look at Gideon salutes that horse. He had a great ride. Looked like he had it. Give him a hand, as that's all he's going to get. Hey, Ross, that's a damn good horse there. That is one of the better ones. So you got a little attitude. And he's quick.
That's a great horse. It is a quick one.
Look at these guys. These are the best guys in that arena. Look at
See, oh, here he comes again.
That horse, he's 13 years old and he knows the tricks.
Oh, here he comes. He's avoiding them.
I'm getting dizzy going around here. A little bit wild, a whole lot western. Oh, look at this! What a boy they call the horse Archie Bunker. Took a risk and got it right. Give him a hand.
You got kicked in the head.
Oh, man. Well, Silver Spur Medical making their way into the arena here right now. He is down. They're going to take a second. They're going to hold him down here at the moment as they move that horse out of the way. Give him a hand. That horse came down on his back.
Probably just thinking
Fully extends himself. Now to pull himself back up into position. As he pulls up, let him know you appreciate it. No Dan. Holding it up. And he executes it flawlessly. We're just saying these kids have really come a long way. Backside of the saddle. The Cherokee drag. Mackenzie doing a great job. Now she's about to do what they rate technically is the most dangerous trick in trick riding. It is called the suicide drag. She goes down over the back. She touches the ground. As she goes down, puts her in position. Look at her go. Now around that corner, reach. Look at that. She grabs the dirt. Her hands between the legs of that horse. She's a great champion. Give her a hand, everybody.
There's no flag. This is your 2021 bull riding champion out of Park Hill, Ontario. It's Brett Timmermans on a bull they call Texas Mickey.
This is a cowboy from Ontario that went to the University of Kansas on a rodeo scholarship. This is one of the toughest bulls of the RAM Rodeo Tour. A great young cowboy getting an education at university in the United States through our paycheck. Come on! Watch it! Oh, look at this, that kick! Oh, no! Chad down there trying to get that bull straight. Now he gets it on. Look at this. Got a board, Tim. Oh, yeah! Give those bullfighters right here in Ontario. Kids are on. Oh, look at this! Oh, come on, son! Oh! Kids are on. Come on, son! Look at this! Oh! Yes! From the middle of the cowboy.
How was your first rodeo, my love? So sleepy. So sleepy. Bucky's out again.
Squeeze those legs and make sure you stay twisted. All right, here we go. Keep your left hand up. Like it. Pull up with your right hand. Pull up. Pull up with your right hand. Squeeze those legs. Nice job. That was pretty quick. Get back on. Okay, this time she said she's going number 8 out of 10. No? All right. Ready? Can we go one faster, you think? You want to stay right there again? That's good? Okay, we'll stay there. All right. Pull up with your hand and put your left hand up. Yeah, keep lifting. Balance out. Balance hand out. Here we go. Yes. Keep your hand up. Keep your hand in the air. You don't think so, but that left hand, that's going to help you out up there. Pull up. Pull up. Pull up. Pull up. Nice job. Nice job.
I learned how to sing. Then I thought I wanted money so I could buy a nice thing.
Nice. Thanks so much for hanging out. That was a lovely day. Frank is napping. I was going to try to get him to come sign off with me, but unfortunately he's having a little rest. Hope you enjoyed. Until next time, stay safe and keep living.
It's the only thing I haven't found somehow. There are other places, there are a million pretty faces.